Oh, that's good. Hey,
When,
John Crandall, thanks for your text. I just got it.
when new people join R Squared, and sometimes the same people, we get questions about the assignments. Like, what's a qualifying question?
Conversation.
Yeah,
Okay.
qualifying conversation. What's a CETO?
Yeah.
What's an RLG? And we do our best in the orientation to answer those questions so that it's clear to you what it is that you're tracking and reporting every week. And there's 4 assignments, and the instructions for these 4 are pretty clear. At least we hope they're clear. We still we still get questions about them. But the conversations one, well, if you do the hashtag system at the end of your day or the beginning of your day when you're doing your top 5 and think about, okay, who and how many did I have conversations with? That's kind of easy to keep track of. And yes or no, did I do my smart week? Well, that's kind of easy to keep track of. Am I following up with my prospects? Am I using my CRM? That's kind of easy to keep track of. And well, am I tracking and reporting my numbers? That should be pretty clear what all those mean, with the little tweaks, like what's this CETO thing? Well, we do our best to explain all of those. But if we get questions about any one of the assignments, it's number 5, train the brain. What the heck does train the brain mean? And is it like a lion tamer? I need to have a whip and a chair to train my brain. What's the big why behind that? So that's why we're doing this today. That's our subject. What do we mean by train the brain? How do you do it? And what are the benefits of doing it?
Yeah, and I think it sprang from this semester's first few calls, where some of our newest R Squared members were saying things like, well, I don't know if I have anything worth giving. Well, I'm going to set the goal, but I'm not really sure I can hit it. And almost revealing to us that they need some work on the interior. So whether you're coming to sharpen the edges of your train the brain skill, you've been doing it for a bunch of years. Okay, what else could I do? Or am I doing it right? Or what is this? What does it really mean? Because I always say, yeah, I do it. But what does it really mean? Or if you've been suffering maybe from a lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, and a fear, perhaps, holding yourself back from hitting 2021's goal. Maybe you were fine last year, but this year the goal is so big that it's kind of got you shaking in your boots. Then this workshop's for you.
We're also at the beginning of the year when I think it was Laura Ballestero who described it as standing at the foot of Mount Everest and looking up at the climb I've got ahead of me, knowing how hard the slogging got last year. Gee, I have to start all over again. Well, what is it that makes people succeed with R Squared coaching and with the Floyd Wickman program? Is it having enough conversations every week?
Yes.
Is that what does it?
Yes.
No,
no,
that's not it. Because I got a guy, I'm serious, had 115 conversations last week. Guess how many referral leads generated? 0. Guess how many appointments? 0. 0 production. So it's not just the conversations. Is it the conversations and the follow-up?
Yes.
No, that's not it. It's although the follow-up, more businesses lost due to a lack of follow-up than anything else. We know that. It's the conversations and the follow-up in the smart way, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not falling into that trap again.
Oh, is it the conversations and the follow-up and the smart week and the smart numbers, knowing where you're at?
You mean like doing all the assignments? Okay.
Yeah. I remember somebody in particular who was doing all of the assignments and pushing business away, just couldn't get anything to come together. And when I said, are you doing train the brain? His reply was, what's that? It's working on the interior so that I think in recruiting, they say this: if you want to attract good people, you got to be attractive. If you want to attract good business, you have to be internally attractive. And that's really what Train the Brain is about. It's drawing the business to you as opposed to pushing it away. As Floyd says, the harder you chase money, the further away you push it.
You know, it's also about change, about becoming who you wish to be, who you desire to be. I mean, if you're already perfect, well, I don't know, you're probably not. I don't know. If you're already perfect, do you need to, you need to maintain perfection maybe. Then so you do train the brain to maintain perfection. But for most of us, isn't life really about facing the next obstacle and overcoming it? And when we look back on the adversities we've had in our lives, don't we say, this made me better at, or I learned and grew because? You know, every single one of us is a sum total of all the stuff we've been through in our life, right? And if we hadn't have gone through that, would we be the same as we are today? And some people that are faced with those adversities wallow in them or go backwards or quit and give up. And others use it as a springboard to become who they really were meant to be. And of course, that's who we are, right? People that are searching, that are reaching, that are growing. So how can we become who we are destined to be? How can we control, change, sculpt our interior thoughts so that we can learn and grow?
I like the word become, because one of the most famous personal development recordings ever made was from a man named Earl Nightingale. Oh. It was called The Strangest Secret. And this became the biggest selling personal development recording in history. And in that, he said, here's the strangest secret. We become what we think about.
And Floyd always said, and if that was true, I'd have been a girl by the time I was 15. So maybe, what does that mean?
Well, it means, I think Napoleon Hill clarified it a little bit when he said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And it's that conception in the mind. Every great accomplishment of mankind started as a thought, an idea in someone's mind.
Thoughts are things. That's my screensaver. Mm-hmm. And I think I read Think and Grow Rich at least 3 or 4 times before I kept saying, thoughts are things. That's so weird, because a thing is something you can touch and hold, but a thought you can't hold. Yet everything was once a thought. And it's taken me, it's a journey to really understanding that, to really believing that you can create who you become in the world that you want to have by controlling your thinking.
And the scientific research and the scientific community and the instruments that they have to measure brain activity has finally caught up with the science of personal development, because thoughts really are, and this is conclusively proved now, thoughts are things. They occupy real estate in your brain, and you can create this real estate and create your own thoughts. You know, it's 110 or 12 years ago, somebody wrote, we form things in our thoughts, and by impressing our thoughts upon formless intelligence, we cause the things we think about to be created, which means you create your own life. Now, we're born with genetics, we're born with DNA, and there's certain predispositions people have, but predisposition is not destiny. And that's the really exciting science that's been brought to this, is that you can change the outcome of your life. You can change your destiny by beginning to change your thinking, by controlling those thoughts. And that's really what Train the Brain is about. It's about creating the life you want, the person you want to be, and the life you want to have by working on your thoughts first. And that's the science. By the way, the science has been involved in sleep studies. There's one psychiatrist who's done 83,000 brain scans. That's a lot of brain scans. This is not yesterday's news. This is brand new today's stuff. And they're measuring things like, through quantum physics, they're measuring electromagnetism and the biochemistry of the brain. And it's conclusive now. There's no logical, reasonable, scientific argument against it. Our brains are really active. Now, train the brain, does it mean we train the brain? And if that's so, how? What do you train the brain with? And the answer is the mind, which is your thoughts. It's how you train the brain with the mind. That's the instrument we use. Now, the mind has also been defined as your will and your ideas, or your soul and your intellect and your emotions. But you know, that's how you change the world, with that. Einstein had an idea, a thought, was called E equals MC squared. Did that change the world? You bet it did. Because the changes that you make in yourself don't affect just you, they affect everyone you know. They affect the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that. Yeah, there's predisposition, but that's not destiny. So we want to talk about two things. When's the best time to train the brain, and how do you do it? So let's start with the best time.
Well, we think it's morning, but then we are both more early birds than night owls. And probably a night routine is just as powerful as a morning routine. Probably for the last 3 years, Michael and I have been on the platform talking about our morning routine, hoping to inspire our people, our students, our Wickman family to embrace some kind of morning routine, that you start your day thinking right. And so many of our students in R Squared rolled over and checked their email. And that's what triggered us getting on our high horse and saying, whoa, we gotta change this. We gotta make sure we communicate that that's probably not the right way to start your day. Would you agree that sometimes we develop habits without intending to? We hear voices in our minds that say the same thing over and over again, and some of us let the voice control us, talk, without us really being aware that it's doing it. Well, when you start having an awareness, wait a minute, why did I just think that thought? That's not what I really want. That thought is not helping me achieve my goals. Why am I thinking this way? I can change the way I'm thinking. But first, I have to be aware of how I'm thinking.
And what Mary just said is the essence of it all, because as human beings, we are unique creatures in this world, in that we have a prefrontal lobe, and that's how we observe our own thoughts. It really is about observation, and that's how you get in control, by at least being aware of what your thoughts are. Wow, is that ever?
Well, so that's step one. But the second step then is, okay, what do I want them to be?
Exactly.
I remember when my sister had her second child, and she had gained 80 pounds during pregnancy. Please do not mention that I told the story today. And I was at her house, and there was a picture of my sister. Oh, someone's calling you, darling. There was a picture of my sister looking pretty chunky, right? Like her postpartum weight. And it was right on her refrigerator, not flattering. And I said, why is this picture on your refrigerator? And she said, because I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, that is what I do not want to look like. And I went, oh no, you've got it completely backwards, right? What picture does she want on her refrigerator, everyone? What should be the image that she sees herself as? At her best. She should be looking at the image of herself at her best and saying, that's who I am, that's how I see myself. Because when I see myself as that, it's going to change the way I think, which then changes my activities, my actions. So I'm not eating one piece of chocolate cake that then becomes half of the cake, because I see myself as already out of control. I'm saying to myself, I don't need that today, because this is how I look. And this is how I want to continue looking. It's a shift in how the world works, how we perceive ourselves.
So we like mornings, you might like evenings, both wouldn't hurt, but the answer is in the pledge. You know, the master salesperson's pledge. Those 2 words that we repeat over and over throughout that pledge, which are each day. This is not once in a while. This is a daily discipline.
So what if right now, every single person that's listening to this, watching this, participating in this, what if we all said, all right, I'm in. I mean, like, I'm in. I'm going to get control of my time, of my mind. I'm going to make sure that going forward after this moment, I begin to choose rather than just allowing it to happen.
Now, the science of studying the brain right now is saying during waking hours, we have our thoughts and they're going in different directions to the different parts of the brain. But during sleeping hours, our brain is sorting through the thoughts. So that's why you awake refreshed, especially after a cup of coffee. And that's the best time to start putting input into the brains when it's fresh. So that's why we like after waking and before working. So if you want to remember those two phrases, a morning routine for train the brain is best done after waking and before working.
How about before getting bad news? I mean, I think we got people that turn on the TV or the radio, or you wake up to the sound of, well, 14 people died in a car crash and the economy is, I mean,
it's minus 20 degrees here.
That is not
the wind chill minus 40.
That is not controlling what you allow in. And this is something that we have read everywhere. We need a hedge of thorns around our thoughts. We need to keep out all the negative stuff. And it's going to come in eventually. I'm not saying don't ever look at the news, but we've got to at least start our day by being introspective and by deciding how we want to be before we let all the poison stuff in, the toxins in.
By the way, if you'd like a really interesting book recommendation on what all the science is currently about brain, it's Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf, L-E-A-F, Switch on Your Brain. Fascinating book. It's also a warning. It's also scripturally based. So just a little caveat.
Well, it's not just physical news.
Yeah.
She's talking about the roots.
Well, she's a brain scientist.
Of facts now that have been around for literally thousands of years. How do you control your own thoughts?
And it begins with opening up. And silence is the best way to do that. Now, some people use meditation, some people use prayer. Every religion I've ever studied, and I've studied them all pretty much, prescribes a daily period of quiet meditation, a daily period of quiet. I mean, we live in a pretty darn noisy world, and there's lots of distractions and interruptions and people grabbing your attention. It's a good way to start the day peaceful, calm, centering with some quiet. Now, if you want to meditate at the same time or pray at the same time, that's fine. But in the pledge, that first line promises I will always be guided. And where does guidance come from? Well, it comes from our connection to our truest self, our mind. And that connection is strongest when you're quiet, when you've got no other distractions, when you're centered. So that's why I like to start with that. In addition to.
And now I'll give you the Catholic perspective, because that's a very nice secular perspective, dear. But mine would be a spiritual perspective. And my spiritual perspective as a Catholic girl is, we do 10 Hail Marys and then a Glory Be and then an Our Father. And we got a lot of talking and praying. When we pray, we got our mouth moving a lot. And silence causes me to shut up and to listen instead of just talk. And I think there's a place in prayer. And if you learn anything about prayer, from, I don't know, a college, a university, a great speaker, somewhere, a holy rabbi, then you would know that part of prayer is to listen to God's voice in your life. So however you look at that, secularly or spiritually or whatever, there is a place for each of us, no matter what our spiritual values, for being quiet.
If you've ever had a day where you felt anxious all day, or distracted all day, or unable to focus and concentrate on a task,
Naomi can relate.
Yeah. Those days usually are a result of too much input before you center yourself. too much noise going on in your environment.
When I was a kid, I cleaned the rectory as a part-time job, very part-time. I had 3 part-time jobs, but there was a banner hanging in my priest's office. And it said this, and I've never forgotten it because I really do believe it. A day hemmed in prayer doesn't unravel. Mm. So I think when we hem our day, now whether that's in prayer or silence or affirmation or train the brain, the concept of hemming the day, that this is the way we start and we can control it, and this is the way we end and we can control it. And there's a lot in the day that happens that we cannot control, that we cannot change. And how do we come back whole from that day? Okay, please resume.
Okay, so that's a great starting point. We want to throw in a couple other ingredients. But if that's all you do, and refer to the Master Salesperson's Pledge. I am a master salesperson. As such, I'm always guided to do and say the things that contribute to my success each day. Yeah. And go through all the promises of what will happen each day when you are guided to do and say those things.
Which is really, the pledge is an affirmation, a tight Wickman affirmation. And so if you pray, if you have silence, whatever, also doing the pledge is great. And you don't have to do the pledge, although you can find it in the Teachable website in the hub, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But you could also write your own affirmations, right? So many of our people have done that over the years, lots of times. I can remember recording, I am now dating myself. Well, I'm not dating myself, but I'm dating myself.
That would be odd.
Go
to the prom on your own.
Okay. So, but a cassette recording. Can you imagine? So I am making a cassette recording based on Floyd telling me to do that. Mm-hmm. Make a list of all the things that you want to become. The way, I love going on listing appointments. I handle every hesitation easily and with confidence. I can knock on 2 FSBO doors every day with, all this stuff I put into my brain early on because Floyd convinced me that if I could convince my brain that stuff was true, then I would be able to do it. And he was right.
Yeah, we just saw an interview he did with a company called Prospects Plus. And he said over and over, it was because I convinced myself that I could through affirmations. Remember that Dick Arand story? That's the guy who gave him the, I will always be guided to do and say the things, and anything that happens in my best interest. There's some powerful words and thoughts in there. The couple of things that we add, because we believe that gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the world. And that is, we start our day with a list of things we're grateful for, beginning with each other, of course, and going on to all the other people and things and the world that we get to inhabit. Wow, the opportunities that we have.
About 2 years ago, we wrote out a list of things that we wanted to be grateful for because we know that time isn't really real, right? So we said, thank you for all the things that we are wanting that aren't here yet, but we know, we are confident that we will have. And so we did, instead of using all those words, we just said, thank you for, and many of the things on our list, I guess these are affirmations, weren't here yet or aren't here yet. But we often will start with all the things that are for our children and for the day and for look at those clouds and for that sound of that woodpecker and, all of those kinds of things, expressing gratitude. I remember when Samuel was, I think in 4th grade, the teacher said, and I think we did it in the evening. Every day, make a list of all the things you're grateful for. And so I think she told him he had to do 5. And we would lay across the bottom of his bed and I'd say one, he'd say one, I'd say one, he'd say one. We'd get 20 or 30 of those. But gratitude is the way we communicate with the power, the molecules, I don't know if we can really understand it as little tiny human beings, but if you want something, start expressing gratitude and you'll have even more of it.
That ancient book on personal development says gratitude unifies our minds
with the formless
with
intelligence.
the formless intelligence, right, and causes the things we think about to be created. We are living in a house that we were grateful for before we even owned, and looked at and visualized and expressed that gratitude, that thankfulness, that appreciation for just even the opportunity to shoot for this house.
And so that brings up vision
boards. Here we are.
Getting a picture of what you want,
yeah,
and putting that picture in front of you and believing that you can have it. What is it that you want? And maybe it's a new car, maybe it's your debt paid off, and maybe it's to pay for a wedding, and maybe it's, to have a college fund for your children or your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews. Whatever it is, you can have that. But you have to work toward it, not just by getting listings and sales, not just by having conversations, but up here, you have to work for it. And so I would challenge you, how much time have you really spent this year deciding what you want and then working toward what you want mentally, metaphysically? Because it's not just the trudging through the mud, the boots on the ground, the slogging out the calls. It's controlling this. I'm so glad you're with us today. I hope this is making a difference. I'm hoping that you've already got some ideas of things that you want, that you can implement, that you can envision.
One of the most human beings we know is a man named Zig Ziglar, who was Floyd's mentor for 38 years. And we got to meet Zig before he passed and spend some time with him. And what is it he said and passed on to us? You can have everything in life you want. If you help enough other people get what they want. But think about the first half of that. Zig promised you can have everything in life you want. And you can. And it's scientifically provable. Right,
that's scriptural. That's Mohammed. I really, truly, I think every great religion in the world has said we live in a place of abundance and we can have all these blessings.
Now, will it be handed to you?
Well, no.
Sometimes you'll trip over it and not even recognize that it's been handed to you. It's right there as an opportunity in front of you. But sometimes you got to work for it. And sometimes you got to ask for it, and ask clearly and cogently. And reasonably and specifically.
Demand it. Sometimes you got to compel those forces to line up, God darn it. This is what we want.
Yep. And so the final thing that we add is I love to journal. Mary journals like crazy. So we always write stuff down. Because if I get guidance first thing in the morning from that voice within, by 11 o'clock, I forgot it, unless I write it down. And it's that act. How many times have we heard Floyd say this? That's that act of the thought going onto the paper, into the pen, up the arm, into your brain. Yeah, it just cements it. It really nails it down. So those are some of the ingredients of training the brain. But it all begins with that silence. It all begins with listening. And then you add things like what you're grateful for and why. And maybe a source of inspiration for you. And visualizing what it is that you want, where you're headed and who you're becoming, and reciting affirmations and writing those thoughts and ideas down.
And there's so many, tech tools. There's Miracle Morning, and there's all kinds of great podcasts and YouTube videos. And I know in many, many R-squared calls that I've been on, people have said, this is what I do. Oh, here's a guy I really like. I listen to this person. So find that person that speaks to you, that speaks to your heart. And it may not have anything to do with real estate. It's really about you being whole, you becoming who you were meant to become.
This is not people sitting around a campfire singing Kumbaya. It's completely the opposite. This is science. It is now literally science that if you work on the interior, if you work on your brain and use your mind to do it, you can change your life. And by changing your life, you change the world.
And think about Abraham Lincoln saying, if you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're probably right. There's probably 100 quotes like that from the 1800s, the 1700s, the 1500s of people that understood how this works. So if you happen to be kind of late coming to the party, well, I'm glad you made it, because there is a way for you to have what you want. And it begins with deciding what you want. Well, you've already done that. We made you set a goal. But it's not just an income thing. It's a world thing, your world view, how you want to live, what your happiness quotient is. And then go out there and get it. Make this happen for you. So whether you add one little grain of sand to what you're already doing, maybe that's a start. Is keep your tablet out of your bed, no more rolling over and looking at that before you've opened your eyes, you know? And if you can sculpt a structure, a morning routine, if you can make yours better, then we did good work today together.
I look at Mark Teslin there, who had his best year ever in
Woo!
real estate.
All right.
30 some years in real estate last year in the middle of a pandemic and this incredible lockdown in Canada. He has his best year ever. Was it because of the conversations he had? No. Mark, every week last year, literally every week, he comes to the calls as, well, mental hygiene time, you know, It's training the brain. Bob Persicepi has his best year ever, despite the pandemic last year. Erica,
Lola Vite had her best year ever last year.
There's example after example with our folks who are engaged in this work, this interior work. This is the work. It's hard work, but it always pays off. So thank you for being here. We love you.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you, guys.